book friends, this is Kat. Welcome back to my channel. Alright, so today's video, I am actually going to do a tag, and I was tagged by Alma at Alma's book journey, and I will link her down below, but she kindly tagged me in this, I think it's called Winter Essentials book tag. I've written down the questions and it looks like a lot of fun. Some of these I will say that I have multiple books because it was just hard to pick for me, and I wanted to give them a mention. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get started. So for the first prompt, it's Crackling Fire. Who is your favorite cold character you warmed up towards the end? So this one, I am going to give it to Marilla Cuthbert in Anne of Green Gables. She definitely was a cold character towards the beginning of the book, and as the series goes on, or even as that book goes on, you know, Marilla has definitely softened a bit and really just warmed my heart to see her journey and her relationship with Anne. So that one was pretty easy for me to pick. Number 2, Snowflakes. What is a book that was full of unique characters? This one I'm going to give to Wistress by Nadine Brandes. Every character in that book, to me, I felt like was unique, especially those with talents. In this book, it's like allegorical Christian fantasy book, and talents are given to people as they go through trials, and they receive a talent in the end if they completed those trials. You also had people who obtain talents in an unnatural way. So I thought that was unique. Number 3, Gingerbread Family. Which fictional family would you want to be a part of? This one I'm going to give to Little Women, the family in here. This is by Louisa May Alcott. This binding, or this book, is curated by Barbara Heller. And first off, this cover is amazing. It's beautiful. I love this edition with it because it does come with little inserts that you can pull out and actually like read along with this book. And they could just be letters, or like what I just showed you was the Pickwick Papers, which in this book the characters had their own little like newspaper club, and they called themselves the Pickwick Papers. And anyway, that's like as if I'm holding one of their newspapers. But Little Women is a story of 4 sisters, and basically their life growing up together, a lot of different like adventures they go on, and it's just such a wholesome book that, I mean, I saw myself in some of these sisters, and I actually have 3 sisters, so there's 4 of us. So there were times where I saw that some of these sisters' relationships kind of matched and mirrored a little bit of my relationship with my sisters growing up. So I did enjoy reading this book, and I felt like easily I could fit into this family. One of my favorite classics. Number 4, Blizzard. What is a book that had you confused the whole time? Yeah, this one I'm gonna have to give to The Fall of Arthur by J.R.R. Tolkien. And I definitely was confused. Like, I felt like I understood a little bit of it. It's kind of like a poem of King Arthur, like discussing different endings toward like the legend of Arthur, and there was like a lot of resources that were pulled and different people who were quoted. I felt like I was reading like this historical document with all of these footnotes and everything, and I was just confused. All I knew was it was about the legend of King Arthur, and yeah, that basically was it. Number 5, gift giving. What is the last book that was gifted to you? So the last book that was gifted to me was from my husband, and this was for Christmas, and he gifted me Women of the Bible, a 1-year devotional study by Anne Spangler and Jean E. Siswirda, I think that's how you say her name. But I had read a version of this book, an older version. It was a hardback pink cover, and that I read, I don't know how many years ago, but I enjoyed it so much. Just going through that devotional and really deep diving in different women. They have, like, this one is Hagar. They have women and their name, what it may mean. So Hagar means fugitive or immigrant. And then it talks about her character, what was her sorrow, her joy, and key scriptures where you can find her in. And then they break it up for you. Like on Monday, you read her story, so like in a summary form. And then here Tuesday, it talks about specific topic during that time. And so right here, it's going to talk about slavery during that time, because Hagar was Sarah's Egyptian slave. Wednesday usually is like the legacy of the woman in scripture. And so you read the scripture and you answer the questions. Thursday is like her promise. So you read a little bit about the promise God gave to Hagar, or for whatever woman that you're reading about. And then you read promises in scripture that tie into it. So these 3 promises in scripture are Psalms, and it correlates to the promise that God gave to Hagar. On Friday is her legacy of prayer. So basically it gives you a scripture to reflect on, and then little snippet about praising God, offering thanks, anything to confess, usually like specific thing. One of these things is pride and selfishness, and that's kind of like a guideline to help like with your prayer. And then you just end with lift your heart, which is basically a call to action. And in this case, this is basically a call to action to share a meal with a group of ladies and reflecting on God's provision. And it even gives you ideas like hummus, how to make hummus, and another dish. And so each section, each woman is different, but that's kind of the basic format. And yeah, so I really enjoyed reading it the first time, and so this is the updated edition, and I'm very, very excited to do this. Possibly want to do this with a group of ladies within my church. So anyway, that was the answer to that one. Okay, number 6, Snowball. What is the biggest book you've ever read? So page-wise, the biggest book I've ever read, and I have the book, I left it in the other room, so I'm just going to put a picture here. It's The Story, and that came in at 495 pages. I didn't look at like audios, books. I'm pretty sure like one of the C.S. Lewis books I've read might have been longer, but this one physically I owned and what I have read. And so it's reading the Bible in a chronological, continual story kind of way, but it's NIV version, and it really helped my understanding with the Bible itself. But yeah, that would be the longest book I have read. Number 7, wrapping paper. What is your most beat up book? So my most beat up book is The Doulos Letters, Volume 1 by Jim Mackey, which is our presbyter at our church, and he wrote different volumes. And it may look in pristine condition right here, but when I turn it over, yeah, that is very beat up. It almost looks like it's gotten burnt in a way, scorched, ran over. And I really don't know what happened with this copy. I believe that this happened when we received it through mail. but I really can't remember. So anyway, the Doulos Letters is basically a collection of writings which emphasize like faith in God, but he delves into topics that are more harder to speak of, deeper topics, heavier topics, harder topics. And I personally have not read this yet. In fact, my husband has read a couple of his volumes and it's led to some interesting discussions. But yeah. Number 8, Christmas Lights. What is a book you own that has many colors on the cover? For this one, I picked Sense and Second Degree Murder by Terza Price. And I mean, that has an array of colors. Even the hard cover is this beautiful pink. I really like this hot pink color. This is number 2 in her Jane Austen murder mystery series. I've only read 1 and 2. Looked at 3, but reading the synopsis and also kind of looking through a little bit of reviews, I decided that wasn't going to be the one for me. So this book is basically a sort of retelling of Sense and Sensibility, because you have 2 sisters who are working as these detectives, but they are trying to solve this murder case, and it was a fun read. I did enjoy it. Okay, number 9, Ice Skating. What is a book that had a plot that was all over the place? I am going to have to give this to a book that I just read because it's fresh on my mind. My husband is actually currently reading it right now for his prompt, so I'll just put the picture here, and that is Storybound by Marissa Burt. In the beginning, I started to read it. I was confused a little bit of how the story was progressing, and if you've seen the live stream with the February live stream video, that's when I picked up the book and kind of mentioned a little bit that I was a little confused at what was going on, but I don't know if that was just me being tired. But well, basically you follow Una Fairchild, which is a girl from our world, and she gets sucked into this book where she's in the land of story, where fairy tales, as we know here in this world, actually lived them out in that world. So really cool concept, but I was a little bit confused with how the land operated in a way, because they would talk about like the fairy tales and how yes, they happened, but then they brought in like these people who are called the tale masters or the tale bearers, and then the muses, and it was really cool, but I felt like the explanations kind of fell flat for me, and that kind of left me confused in some areas of the book. So I guess that kind of answers the question a little bit. And then some other things were brought up that were added to the plot, and again, I felt just how it was brought in was a little confusing. So that's what I would say for number 9. Okay, number 10. Who is my favorite character of all time? This one, super hard. I've already named a few of my favorites, and I guess what it came down to was like the character that I personally try to model in a way how I would want to live, I guess. And so I looked, there's this biblical retelling of Priscilla, and that is something I know my husband and I kind of modeled a little bit of, like how we want to open our homes and even encourage the Christian community around us, because they had a home church, and we have like a hope group which is open for prayer and encouragement. So our motto is to love and to be loved. So anyone who comes through our doors to feel that. And we try to make sure that they're seen, they're loved, they're known. And so that goes to this book, which is Daughter of Rome. And I really loved this retelling of Priscilla, and I would count that as like a favorite character because I did enjoy her character in this book. I could identify a little with her, and so yeah, I think in my own way I answered that question, but definitely a hard question to answer because I mean, there are plenty of characters that I came to really love and enjoy. Some that I probably have mentioned before on my channel, but it's kind of hard to do a tag sometimes. I don't own a lot of books. A lot of books I do get are from the library, and even more so, they're audiobooks. So sometimes when I'm going through some of these questions and trying to see what I have, I kind of forget those audiobooks and things. So anyway, that's a hard question. So, all right. Number 11, The Star. What's a book you look forward to rereading each year? So I'm not a big rereader. Most likely, though, I would reread a nonfiction. But I did pick 3 for this. 2 are nonfiction and 1 isn't. But my nonfiction would be Seeking Allah, Finding Jesus, A Devout Muslim Encounters Christianity by Nabil Qureshi. And this is a nonfiction about this Muslim man finding Jesus and ultimately converts into Christianity. But I really did enjoy this book, gave it 5 stars, loved it. So more than likely I would reread a 5-star nonfiction for sure. I just don't always think about picking up another, like my books that I have read, because I have so many books that I want to read, but this would be one of those. The other one I have is Mission Drift by Peter Greer and Chris Horst, and I actually did reread this. I think it was early last year, but I have read this twice already, and for both times that I did read it, I really did enjoy it and just underlined, and it's just great. Like I underlined like twice as I went through both times. So this book is basically just talking about leaders, charities, and churches drifting from their missions, and how does it start, and it's how do we stop, you know, our mission from drifting. So there's good examples of ministries or churches or organizations that don't drift from their original purpose, and then there are some examples that are, I guess you would call them like negative examples of those that have drifted from what they were previously founded for. And so I like the practical steps in this book. And my fiction book that I would reread, which I haven't yet, again, very hard for me to actually pick up and reread a book, but I did read another book from the same author, but I would reread all her books. And that goes to Tessa Afshar and Land of Silence, which is my all-time favorite Tessa Afshar book. But any book from Tessa Afshar I would reread. I actually reread Pearl in the Sand, and I really did enjoy that reread. And I reread Field of Grace as well, and really enjoyed it. So I do enjoy Tessa Afshar's books, and this one is my all-time favorite, and I need to pick it up again. All right, and so the last one is Snowball Fight, tag 5 people. I'm not really sure who all did it. If you haven't done this tag, please feel free to do it. If you just want to leave answers in the comments down below, more than welcome to do that. Anyway, I hope you guys are having a great rest of your day, and I will see you in another video. Bye, guys.